everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. The winter campaign is officially over now after our epilogue of Eldritch Horror last week, and we're getting ready to have a wargame focused month for February. Before that though, what say we turn up the heat and go somewhere much warmer than the month we've been spending in Antarctica. Let's venture to the desert world of Arrakis and try to take control of the spice there as we play Dune Imperium. And we're also going to use the Rise of Ix expansion for this game. So the main thing we gain from this expansion is the dreadnoughts, which make combat slightly more challenging, along with the ability to pick up tech tiles. But otherwise, really not that much has changed from the base game, especially from the first time I featured this game on the channel. In fact, we're even going to have a rematch on that front as well. So let's go through the leaders that we're playing today. In Dune Imperium, even if you're playing solo, you have to play with a minimum of 3 characters. So you'll essentially have 2 Automa opponents. Whereas if you're playing 2-player, you'd have one Automa opponent, and I'll explain about how the Automa will be taking their actions. One thing I will mention now, though, is when you're playing as the Automa, when a character's playing as an Automa, you can pretend that that side of the ability doesn't exist. You only have to worry about the signet ring when that comes up. So for Earl Memnon Thorvald, who will be doing everything, we'll tip the camera up just a touch, so you can see that I've got the yellow components right by him. Earl Memnon Thorvald's signet ring ability is, when that comes up, we'll give him an extra spice. Actually, I should correct that slightly. So when the signet ring comes up and he uses it to deploy, he'll get an extra spice. It can come up in another way, but if it comes up that way, then he won't get the signet ring effect. Anyway, that is it for Memnon. Let's move over to our other Automa opponent. We're playing as... So the second Automa opponent that we have is actually Glossu the Beast Raban from House Harkonnen. Earl Memnon Thorvald, hence the name, was from House Thorvald. Once again, you can pretend that ability doesn't exist. Only worry about the signet ring. They get a troop in their garrison, or 2 if they have at least 1 faction alliance. Now, as a fun fact, the first time I watched the recently released Dune Imperium, or the Dune movie, when it came out in probably 2020, because I recall working from one of the days I was working from home during the stay-at-home order, sitting down to watch the new Dune as part of background noise, and I think it was this character because it sure looks like him. When I first heard the voice, I was like, "Wait, that sounds like Dave Bautista." And sure enough, when I looked at the credits, I don't know if I watched the credits or if I went back and looked at the box later, but it turns out it was Dave Bautista. He was a big wrestling star in WWE, and I had heard his voice way too many times to not immediately pick that out, but anyway. So, I mentioned his special ability already. He'll be doing everything as you can see here in blue. So I've got the control markers right there. Anyways, how the Automa will take their turns. I talked about this briefly, but if it comes up where... here it is. So what the Automa will be doing is they'll actually be drawing cards out of the House Hagal deck. So I'll have to give that a reshuffle. So they'll get the effect that's on the card rather than what's on the space. When I go to that space, I will gain the effect that's on I'll gain the effect on the board on the space on the board. So there's the House Hagal deck. And I was talking about the signet ring for both of them. So that when that pops up and they use it to deploy, then they get the effect from their spice hoard. The other way the Automa uses the House Hagal deck is if they're involved in the conflict, they can use this to get additional swords. So that'll be part of the combat track. I'll give this a quick shuffle. And both Memnon and the Beast will be working from this deck. So we'll probably go through it at least once during the course of today's game. But anyway, give that one more shuffle. And a cut. And as you might notice, I'll pan the camera up just a touch. I am actually not using except for the cubes that come with the base, that actually come with the base game. I'm not using the components that come with Dune Imperium. Most of what I'm using actually comes from a company called By Your Command, and I'll provide a link to their Etsy store in the description to this video. I think I unboxed these components last year, I want to say. I know I unboxed some of them last year, not last year, 2021. I think I had to place another order with them when the expansion components came out. And so one of the things I was missing, surprisingly, from the first order was the Mentat. So that actually did come out with the expansion components. But anyway, we've met both of the Automa opponents. Now let's go meet the character I'm playing as. I'm playing as Countess Ariana Thorvald from House Thorvald, and I'll be doing everything in red. So the Automa so every player starts off with a water. I'm playing on the easy difficulty once again, so I also start off with a Solari and a Spice. And as you can see, I'll be doing everything in red today. So my special ability, I do have to worry about this side of the ability, and actually factors into my strategy a bit. So whenever I go Harvest Spice, I gain one less Spice, but I also draw a card. And when my Signet Ring comes up, I gain an extra water. So I'll be playing the game the regular way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll drop my starting hand. So I'll be using these cards to deploy for the icons on the side, and I really like the start of this hand. I'll have to keep an eye on that, but anyway, looks like I'm not doing any spice harvesting this turn, which is fine. I can start on getting alliances going, but anyway, just food for thought when we actually get into the game. So that will do it for my turn. Now let's move over to the board so I can set up the changes and our initial start of game, and our final start of game stuff. I'm using this side as my garrison. I'll use this for the Beast's garrison and up here for Memnon. Anyway, so you can see that each space has a different effect on it when we deploy there. So I will get that effect on when I deploy to that space, whereas the Automa opponents will get whatever comes out of the House Hagal deck. Mainly what changes is the Landsraad Council and the Choam spaces change slightly, where I can move my freighter up this track to potentially get extra stuff there. Then we've got Ix over here, which is where we go to get the Dreadnoughts, and I do need to reveal the top tech tiles from each stack. So these can also be acquired when we go to these spaces up here. So first up we will find Holtzman engine for 6 spice. So at the start of round, you get to draw an extra card, and at endgame, it's worth a victory point if you have at least 2 The Spice Must Flow. We'll talk about the Spice Must Flow and the rest of the reserve later. So next tile stack. Artillery for 1. Reveal turn, +1 sword for each revealed card that provides 1 or more swords this turn. And Invasion ships for 5 spice, and when you acquire it, that's what this icon is, you get 4 troops in your garrison. So you can exhaust that so that enemy agents don't block your agents this turn. So that's something to keep in mind if there's a space you really need to go to in particular. Then as you can see, I've got my Swordmaster up here on the Swordmaster space. The Automas are buried 5 cards down in the Conflict deck down here. I've got the combat markers over here. I start with 3 troops in the garrison. Because of the difficulty, the Automa doesn't start with anything extra. So anyway, we might as well look at the reserve cards. So the Holtzman engine mentioned the Spice Must Flow. So that will cost me 9 influence to acquire. When I do, I get a victory point, and it gives me a spice on a reveal turn. The Arrakis Liaison is also available for 2 influence. I can use it to deploy to green or blue spaces, and I get 2 influence when I reveal it on an influence turn. Then we have fold space, which you can only acquire when you come to this space on the board. That'll let you deploy to any space on the board. When you use it to deploy, you draw a card and then trash fold space. So anyway, let's take a look at our first Imperium row. So first up we have Spice Smugglers for 2 influence. You can use it to deploy to blue spaces. If you use it to deploy, you can spend 2 spice to go up in reputation with the Spacing Guild and get 3 Solari. If you use it on a reveal turn, you'll get an influence and a sword. Then our next card up, Weirding Way for 3. It's a Bene Gesserit card. Blue, you can use it to deploy to blue and yellow spaces. And when you use it to deploy, you may take another turn immediately after this one. You get 1 influence and 2 swords on a reveal turn. Next up, Guildmakers for 3 influence. With the Spacing Guild, you can use it to deploy to Emperor, Spacing Guild, or green Pentagon spaces. The Spice Must Flow costs 3 less influence to acquire this turn if you use it on a reveal turn. Next up, Freighter Fleet for 2 influence. You can use it to deploy to yellow triangle spaces. I think, is it Exhaust and Scrap this? That looks like one of the new expansion symbols. A reveal box with unload is triggered in any of 3 situations. So it's triggered when during your reveal turn, when you discard it, or when you trash it. You can advance your freighter up the influence track, so I'll just highlight that once again. And then the last up in our starting Imperium row, Guild Ambassador for 4 influence with the Spacing Guild. You can use it to deploy to green Pentagon spaces. If you use it to deploy, you get either up influence with the Spacing Guild or 2 spice. If you have an alliance with the Spacing Guild, you can spend 3 spice to get a victory point. So anyway, I think that is everything set up, so let's get right into this game. All right, so we need to reveal our first conflict, and our first conflict is a skirmish. So first place, you get to go up with a faction, and you get 2 Solari. Second place would get you 3 Solari. Third place isn't used in a 3-player game. So anyway, first up for Memnon, who is our first player, he will be deploying to Carthage, so he'll get a troop which he can immediately deploy into the conflict. So Carthage, a troop into the conflict, and his strength goes up to 2. Then the Beast, his first deployment will be Hardy Warriors. So he'll also be able to deploy into the conflict because it's got the crossed sword space, so he'll get 2 troops. So yeah, Hardy Warriors. So he'll go up with the Fremen. He'll get 2 troops which he'll immediately deploy into the conflict, bring blue up to 4. Now, I could try to deploy into this conflict if I want to, but I think the better long-term plan here is probably going to be to work on my influence with the Spacing Guild so I can get a Dreadnought as fast as I can. So I think we'll start off with Seeking Allies. So I can use that to deploy to any faction space, but I have to trash this card. So where do I want to deploy to? I think I'm going to deploy up to Wealth, actually, which will let me go up with the Emperor faction, but it will also give me 2 more Solari, which I could use if I wanted to go get a Dreadnought right now, but I also want to make sure I can get a tech tile if possible. Anyway, our next turn for Memnon will take us to Selective Breeding, so he'll only get to go up with the Bene Gesserit. Selective Breeding, yes. Alright, so yellow up with the Bene Gesserit. Then the Beast will be out of agents after this. He will deploy to Secrets, which he can go to. So they're both starting to go up on the Bene Gesserit track. which means I can't go there, but I wasn't planning to anyway. Instead, I will actually head to... It's tempting to try to muscle in on this conflict, but I think I'd rather sit this one out and play a little bit of a longer game. So I'm going to use diplomacy to deploy my second agent up to the Spacing Guild because I want to get that reputation moving, which will give me a fold space into my discard pile. And then since they're both out of agents, I get to have a reveal turn. So the sword won't matter because I'm not in on this conflict, but I have 4 influence. So what do I want with the... I think I want the Guild Ambassador, actually, for 4 influence. This is the one that if I use it to deploy, I either go up with a Spacing Guild or get 2 spice. Now, remember Countess Ariana's special ability. I'll talk about why that's going to be relevant here in a second, but I need to reveal this card first, so I find Worm Riders for 6, up with the Fremen, or their Fremen card. So I can use this to deploy to either blue circle or yellow triangle spaces. If I use it to deploy, I get 2 spice. If I have 2 influence with the Fremen, I get 4 swords on a reveal turn. If I also have the Alliance, I get 2 more. Now, the reason that spice is potentially relevant on the Guild Ambassador that I just bought is if you remember Ariana's special ability, it triggers when I go to harvest spice. That doesn't count as harvesting spice, so I would still get the 2 spice if I want that ability. But anyway, that's it for my reveal turn. Now we have to resolve the conflict cards. So each of the leaders will actually reveal a card from the House Hagal deck and get more swords. So for Memnon, he'll get 2 more swords and go up to 4. So right now they're tied. And then the Beast will gain 1. So he'll actually win the conflict because of that, which will give him 2 Solari and let him go up in a faction of his choice. The Automa has to choose a faction that they have the least reputation with, so I will let them go. So they'll have to go up with either the Emperor or the Spacing Guild. I'll put the Beast up with the Spacing Guild, and then Memnon actually doesn't get anything from that conflict because he won second place. He only gets second if all 3 players are in on the conflict. So anyway, that's it for round 1, and now we go into the, I believe it's Maker, it should be Maker Phase next. Yes. So you're going to accumulate spice on bonus spaces, which means all 3 of these spaces will actually get bonus spice on them. So bonus, bonus, and bonus. Then we recall. So we check if anybody's at 10 victory points on the victory track. Obviously nobody is. So we recall agents. Right. And then mine come back as well. First player will pass over to the Beast, and that will bring us into round 2. I'm drawing out my hand, and I see that my Signet Ring is indeed available to me this turn, and I might be using that to deploy. I haven't decided yet, though. Let's see what our conflict this time is all about. We're already in Stage 2 because we only have 1 Stage 1 conflict. We're just looking at Solari in this round. So, the Beast is our first player. He will deploy to Still Suits, which will let him go up with the Fremen again, which will give him our first victory point of the game. And then it is a combat space, but he doesn't have any troops in his garrison, so he can't deploy. What do I want to do here? I think I will use my Signet Ring, actually, to get a second water, and then I'll spend both of those water to actually go to the Great Flats, which will give me 3 spice, because remember, I gain 1 less spice when I harvest, but I do get to draw a card. So I'll go ahead and... The Signet Ring isn't in my discard pile yet, so I'll go ahead and shuffle all of this up. And then I'll draw a card. So that will be my card that I draw. So I draw Convincing Argument for 2 Solari. So I'll be using that on my reveal turn, most likely. And then Memnon's first agent is going to Arrakis, so he will get his Signet ability. So Arrakis, troop into the conflict, so he'll be up to 2. And remember, his Signet Ring triggers here, so he does get a spice. Now, the Automa can spend resources for victory points. They spend, I believe it's 3 water for a victory point, 3 intrigue cards, 7 Solari. They won't spend 7 spice until we're in conflict, until we're in stage 3 of the conflict deck, because they do want to acquire tech tiles if they can. So that is something to keep in mind. Then the Beast's second agent is going to Conspire, so they'll be going up with the Emperor. So the Beast will be going up with the Emperor and get 2 troops in his garrison. Let's see, then where am I deploying to? I kind of want that I either want that invasion ships or the Holtzman engine. Because I do want to go try to get a Dreadnought on my next... My plan is to go get a Dreadnought on my next turn. The only thing here is I can't deploy to a... I can't deploy right now to... like I said, I do want more spice on my next turn. So I think I'll use a Dune the Desert Planet to deploy up here to smuggling, so that'll give me a spice, and that'll advance my freighter on the... And that will advance my freighter on the freighter track. Then, okay, so that's discarded. Then Memnon's second agent, and he'll be out at this point. He's going to tech negotiation, so he actually can buy one of the tech tiles, so he'll buy the artillery for 1 spice, which that will go back in the supply pool, and then we'll reveal the top. Actually, no, he doesn't buy the tech tile. He actually just leaves an agent behind as a... You place a troop later when you acquire tech. Okay, so he just places a troop there as a negotiator. Then the Beast is out of agents, so now I'm revealing. I have another sword, which won't matter, and 4 more influence. I think I will grab the Spice Smugglers for 2. And then there's the freighter fleet up there for 2 as well, which I might use, which I might grab as well. But this... Guild Administrator for 2 with the Spacing Guild. I can use this to deploy to either Spacing Guild or Triangle Sites spaces. If I use it to deploy, I can trash a card. I believe it's that in my hand or discard pile, I believe. I want to double check that. Yes, hand, discard pile, or in play. If I use that on a reveal turn, I get 1 influence. I think... do I want this or do I want the freighter fleet? I think I actually want the freighter fleet. I'm very tempted by that guild administrator. I may go grab it on my next turn. Anyway, next card in the Imperium row. There's a Bene Gesserit initiate for 3 influence. You can deploy to Pentagon, Circle, or Triangle spaces with it. If you deploy with it, you draw a card. And you get 1 persuasion on your next turn. So we'll move that off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll put that to the side. And then Memnon's actually the only one in on this conflict, so I wouldn't mind seeing a big sword card here. 3 swords, and it's a Dreadnought card, so that is actually very helpful as well. Anyway, Memnon is the only one in on this conflict, so he wins. Which means he gets the 6 Solari for free. And then there's that going on his sheet. Maker phase next, so the So both Haga Basin and the Imperial Basin get bonus spice. Then we'll recall agents. Oh, helps if I put them with the right color. Okay, and then my agents are here. Okay, so we've got all that figured out. And now we're into round 3, where I will be the first player. I can definitely acquire a Dreadnought this turn, and I might. We'll have to decide on that, but anyway, let's take a look and see what the conflict is about this time. Siege of Carthage. First place gets you a victory point and control of Carthage. So you place a control marker here, and anybody who deploys there, the controlling player gets a Solari out of that. Second place gets you an intrigue card and a spice. So what am I doing this turn? I think... well, I just saw one Dreadnought. The question now is, do I think I'm going to be able to get a... Do I think I'm still going to be able to get it if I use it as my second action? And do I want in on this conflict? I think I kind of do want in on this conflict, actually. So with that in mind, I'm going to use the... So yeah, like I said, I do want in on this conflict, but I want to wait. I think I want to wait until I have my Dreadnought. So I'm going to use the... I'm going to use the Guild Ambassador to deploy. So I can choose to either go up with a Spacing Guild or get 2 spice. I think right now I want the... Actually, I've got enough spice right now to get the... to probably get the tech tile I want. I'll pay the 3 Solari because I am going up to Dreadnought space to acquire one of my Dreadnoughts, which goes into my garrison. And I'm still trying to decide if I want the Spacing Guild influence, which would get me on the board with the victory point, or if I want the 2 spice. Honestly, I think I want the rep with the Spacing Guild right now, which will give me the victory point. Then I get my first Dreadnought, and what do I want to deploy? What do I want to do? I want to grab the invasion ships? I think I do want to grab the invasion ships, so I can exhaust that. So there's the 5 spice I'm paying for the invasion ships, which will also give me 4 troops in my garrison. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which I can that's an exhaust, I think, right? Flip this tech face down to use its ability. Okay, so enemy agents don't block my agent this turn. So that's the tech tile I have, or the tech tile I have. So on top of that stack, we find a spaceport for 5. When you acquire it, draw 2 cards. Ooh, I may try to go for this next. You may put cards you acquire on top of your deck. Wow, that's actually pretty busted. Anyway, the first card for House Hagal, for Memnon, is going to Carthage. So he gets a troop, which he can deploy into the conflict. So he's on the board with 2. Then the Beast will be deploying to Arrakis, so he'll get his Signet ability. So Arrakis, so he'll get 2 troops in on this conflict. So he'll be up to 4. I will probably be up a lot higher than that. Unfortunately, I don't have the, I'll use the fold space to deploy. Question is, where do I want to go? I definitely want to go somewhere that's getting me in on this conflict. So I'm actually going to deploy to... I don't have the water to do that. I'll deploy to Imperial Basin. So that'll give me 2... That'll give me 2 spice. And then I can draw a card. That will be my card I draw from Fold Space, so I draw Convincing Argument. That's not that great, but anyway, Memnon has another agent as well. He will reveal... Oh, I forgot to deploy into the conflict, so I get to deploy up to... I believe it's 2 of the troops from my garrison. Plus up to 2 more troops from my garrison. Okay, so I'll deploy my Dreadnought and one of my other troops. The Dreadnoughts have a strength of 3 and always return to the garrison rather than the supply. So right now I'm up to 5. So Memnon's second agent is going up to Wealth. So he will go up here and join us on the board with the Emperor faction. Then the Beast will go to Harvest Spice, which right now is Haga Basin. So he'll get 4 spice, and he'll get to deploy his last 2 troops into the conflict, which isn't great for me. 8. So, right. Okay, so that's all done. Now into my reveal turn. I have another sword, which isn't going to help unless it keeps Memnon at bay. And 5 influence to buy with. So, with that, I'll grab the Bene Gesserit Initiate for 3. And then I'll reveal... Carry All for 5. I can use that to triangle spaces. If I use it to deploy, I double the base, not bonus, spice I harvest with my agent. And 1 influence and a spice on reveal, and I'll grab the Guild Administrator for 2 as well. And then we'll flip this over to find a Bene Gesserit Sister for 3 influence. I can use it to deploy to Bene Gesserit or Pentagon spaces. 2 influence or 2 swords when I reveal it on a reveal turn. So that's it for my reveal turn. Then Memnon's the one I need to duck a whammy from, because that'll at least give me an intrigue card and a spice, which I don't mind at all. 1 sword from Memnon, so he won't come over the top of me on that. Then the Beast will get another 2 swords, and I don't mind seeing another Harvest Spice come out. So the Beast wins the conflict, which means he gets the victory point and control of, what was that, Carthag. So anytime any of us go to Carthag, the Beast gets a Solari from the supply. Then I came in second, so that gives me an intrigue card and a spice. I do not mind the spice at all, because there are some good tech tiles up there for Dreadnought. And then the intrigue card I have is Bribery. I can pay 2 Solari to go up with any reputation, but I'm unfortunately fresh out of Solari at the moment, so Maker Phase will get bonus spice, and then we're still not anywhere near victory points, so agents get recalled. Troops leave the garrisons. My Dreadnought returns to my garrison. I'll finish recalling agents here as we're going. And Carthag was right there. So now we're into round 4, and Memnon is our first player. I think I have one more round before the Automa players get their Sword Masters. So let's see what the conflict is all about this time. We are looking for Siege of Arrakis. So 4 victory points, or a victory point and in control of Arrakis for first place. Second gets you 4 Solari. Looking at my hand, ooh. Definitely got some good stuff here. I'll have to think about how I want to do that, but anyway. Yeah, that'll let me advance on the freighter track too. Okay, so anyway, Memnon is our first player, so we find he has how much influence does he have? He has no influence with the Spacing Guild right now, so he goes to Fold Space, which lets him go up with the Spacing Guild. Don't mind that at all. Then the Beast goes to Highliner. That's a problem. So he gets that. He'll get another victory point, go up to 3. And he gets 3 troops, all of which he can immediately deploy into the conflict. So he's up to 6 right away. Alright, so what do I want to do here? I'm actually going to use my Signet Ring right away. So I'll get a water off of that. And then I will go to... I think I'll go to Interstellar Shipping, since I have 2 influence with the Spacing Guild, so I'll advance all the way to the top, mainly because I'm going to probably be recalling my freighter next turn. So the benefits on there, I didn't really explain that too much, but when you recall your freighter, you basically work down and get everything on the track. So I'll be able to recall so when I recall my freighter at the top, I'll be able to buy a tech tile with -2 spice. Then the second level will let me gain 2 troops in my faction and go up in reputation with a faction of my choice. And here I can choose either to gain dividends, so that'll be 5 Solari, and each other player gains 1, which will give Memnon a victory point, but I can't really help that. Or I can take 2 spice for myself. I'm probably taking dividends because I'm gonna, well, I don't know about that yet, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves there. So Thorvald, his second agent, will be going to Still Suits, going up with the Fremen, but because he doesn't have any troops in his garrison, he doesn't get to add anything. Then the Beast will go to Harvest Spice, which right now is the Great Flat. So that's the most bonus spice, so he'll get 4 spice, and then he's completely out of troops to deploy. So there's a very tempting possibility for me to just muscle over the top of him in this conflict, and I might want to. So there's no green space for combat. There are a couple of blue spaces for combat, so what do I want to do with this? Alright, so I'm definitely recalling. I can't get my sword master yet. So what I think I'll do is I'll use the, and right now I can't, well, I can go, there's one green space I can go to right now, but I think I'd rather, I'm trying to find a way in on this combat, and I think the one I take is to go to, wish I had a Fremen card because that would get me a water right now. That would be absolutely delightful. Yeah, so what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the Spice Smugglers to deploy to a blue space. I'm going to go to Arrakis, which will give me another troop in my garrison and draw me a card, which I'll be using on my influence turn, or my reveal turn. So I will draw a dagger for 1 sword, which is actually kind of welcome. So then I'll spend the 2 spice to go up with the Spacing Guild and get 3 more Solari, which I can then use to go get my Dreadnought. But I do want to make sure I have enough spice that I can buy the spaceport as well. Let's see, so I got the troop in my garrison and I drew a card, so I can deploy that troop plus up to 2 more, which will be my Dreadnought and another troop. So that'll bring me up to a combat strength of, okay, those Dreadnoughts are 3 strength, right? Let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure they're 3 strength though. Yes, there were 3 strength. Okay, so that brings me up to 7 right now, which is which is not quite where I want to be, but... And I keep forgetting I can exhaust my ships so dreadnoughts don't block me, so I'm not blocked, but there was nowhere I was able to go. So anyway, now we're into my reveal turn. So I have a dagger, which will give me one more sword, bringing me up to 8. Dune the Desert Planet, which gives me an influence, blah. And then I don't have the alliance with the Spacing Guild yet, but... Well, actually, I might. So I'm going to use the freighter fleet first during my reveal turn to recall. So I'll buy a tech tile with -1, with the -2 spice discount. It'll be the artillery. So on a reveal turn, I actually get another sword, so that'll bring me up to 9. Then on top of that stack, for 2, wind traps for 2. So when you acquire, you gain a water, and when you win a conflict, you gain a water as well. Now, I should probably mention that it might be a little bit hard to see, but there are icons in the lower right corner of some of these tiles. What that means is those are the tiles that the Automa can actually acquire. So anyway, I'll use that to gain 2 more troops in my garrison and go up in a reputation. I'll go up with the Spacing Guild, which will give me the Alliance token for another victory point, and give me 3 Solari, since I'm up at that level. So that will bring me up to 6 Solari. And then the question here, so I'll actually trade 5 of these singles in and get a 5 back. So now I have an interesting question on my hands of do I want the dividends or do I want the spice? And I think if I take dividends, that gives Memnon a victory point, which isn't potentially catastrophic. Plus, I'm getting... Actually, you know what? I think I want the spice here. Because I've already got enough Solari to go get a second Dreadnought if I want it. So I'll take the 2 spice. And then since I have the alliance with the Spacing Guild, I'll immediately spend that 3 spice to get another victory point to bring me up to 3, tie me with the beast. But I think this conflict is going to have a lot to do with who's in the lead after this. Plus, I've got this intrigue card I can play as well. With 1 influence, there is nothing up on the reserve that I can do. So now I'm up by 3 strength in the in the conflict. So as long as this isn't a whammy from the beast, it is not. It's another 2. So I win the conflict, which gives me another victory point up to 4, and I get control of Arrakis. So now anytime anybody goes there, I get a Solari from the supply. The beast does get 4 Solari, which thankfully I'll trade one of these in for 5, plus this 4 that he's getting. Thankfully that's... Actually no, the beast doesn't get anything from the conflict, because he got 2nd place, so never mind that. So he still has 2 Solari there. Maker phase, bonus spice goes on Imperial and Haga Basins. And then we recall agents. So those 2 go back to the beast. Okay. Troops leave supply. My dreadnought returns to my garrison. And then we're into round 5, where the beast is our first player. Alright, so those move back to 0. And then this is round 5, so both the Automa opponents get their Sword Masters. I still can't get mine yet, because I don't have enough Solari to go get it. I'll reveal the conflict, then I'll get the Sword Masters on their stands. So this conflict. Sort through the chaos. So first place you get the Mentat, an Intrigue card, and 2 Solari. Second place gets you an intrigue card and 2 Solari. So let me get these on the stands. The Beast will be the first player once I get all of this sorted. Come on. I do also need to draw my... That thing does not like to stay in place, but anyway, I'll get my opening hand drawn once I finish getting these set up. So 1, 2, and I gotta shuffle these up. I should probably go on a plan that gets me goes and gets me my Swordmaster soon. Although the Dreadnought is going to prove to be a huge advantage, I'm sure. 3, 4, 5. Especially now that I've got Solari coming in from control of Arrakis, and okay, so right, I do need to work on, like I said, I need to work on a plan to get my Swordmaster in the next couple of rounds. So anyway, the Beast is the first player, so his first agent turn. We'll send him to Harvest Spice. Fortunately, he doesn't have, so he goes to where there's the most bonus spice or total spice if tied. So he'll go to Haga Basin, gaining 3 spice. So 1, 2, 3. I'll grab 2 more of these and trade them in for a 5. So this is still This is still stage 2, a stage 2 conflict. So the Beast isn't going to be looking to trade in spice for victory points yet. Well, that kind of, that put paid-ish to my turn, but not too bad, I don't think. Do I want to go to Arrakis and just muscle in on this conflict? Actually, the first thing I'll do is I'll play my bribery, so I'll go down to 4 Solari to go up with a faction. So 1, 2, 3. Question is, who do I want to go up with here? I think we'll actually go up with the... I think we'll go up with the Emperor to get another victory point, so that'll bring me up to 5 victory points. And then what am I doing for deployment? I do have a water available to me, but I'm not really doing much with that this turn. I do have 2 influence. I do have the alliance with the though, so I think I'll use my Dune the Desert Planet. Yeah, I'll use my Dune the Desert Planet to go up to interstellar shipping, which will let me go up twice on the freighter track. So that's done. And then this is the first card for Memnon. He will find. Going to Carthage, which will actually give the Beast a Solari. He'll get a troop which will immediately go into the conflict. So Memnon's on the board with 2 troops, and I'll get the Solari out for the Beast here in a second. Then it'll be his turn going into the House Hagal deck. I'll stand these back up. Alright, so for the Beast, he'll go to tech negotiation, which will let him buy a tech tile for full price. So he can buy the Holtzman engine. So he'll go to tech negotiation. Actually, no. Yeah. So he'll buy the Holtzman engine for 5 spice because it's a 1 spice discount for him there. And then at the top of that stack, we find a disposal facility for 3. When you gain it, you can trash a card. If you have 6 or more influence, you may trash one of your cards in play. And then what am I doing for my second agent turn? Unfortunately, I'm not really making any headway in terms of being able to get the Mentat next turn. So I think I will just use the Guild Administrator. Yeah, I think I'll just use the Guild Administrator to go up to Smuggling, and I'll recall my freighter. So that'll give me 2 more troops in the garrison, and up with any faction I want. I'll go up with the... Who do I want to go up with this time? I think I'll go up with the... I'll go up with the Emperor. And then I don't think I care about giving Memnon a victory point right now. I think I need the dividends so I can go get my Swordmaster next turn. So that'll bring me up to 9 Solari. Memnon will trade in 7 for a victory point in a second. And oh no, I'm second player. Duh. Never mind. Okay, so Memnon will trade in his 7 Solari to get on the board with a victory point. And then I gave the beast his 1. Okay. So Memnon with his second... And I get to trash a card in play. I'll trash my Dune the Desert Planet. And then Memnon's second agent is going to get a Dreadnought. That's a problem. So he'll go get his first Dreadnought. I think I was putting his garrison there. And then he would buy a Tactile, except he can't because he has no spice. Then the beast's third agent is going to harvest spice. So right now, that's back to Imperial Basin once again. So he'll get 2 spice. I'll trade this and 4 of his singles in for a 5. He would be able to deploy into the conflict, except he is completely out of agents this turn. And then for my turn, I'm in a reveal phase. So unfortunately, I can't do anything with the Guild Ambassador because I don't have the spice to spend for another victory point. Sword and 1 influence, which I'm also not doing anything with. Then Memnon's third agent is he's going to conspire. So he'll go up with the Emperor as well and get 2 troops in his garrison. So he didn't have those in his garrison at the time, which means they don't move into the conflict. Then Memnon's the only one in on this conflict, so... Oh, I didn't finish recalling my freighter. So Memnon, I wouldn't mind seeing a big card here from them. 1 sword, that's not that big. It's big enough to win anyway, so he wins the conflict, which gives him an intrigue card. I'll put that there. Control of the Mentat next turn, so that'll be Wait, I didn't deploy his agent, so... Actually, he would have gone to Arrakis, which would give me another Solari, along with his Signet Ring, so another troop into the conflict, which brings him up to 4. And his Signet Ring triggers, which gives him a spice. So now the last card is actually his swords, and now I wouldn't mind seeing a big one. Well, he'll have the Mentat next turn. He doesn't have it yet. He gains another 3, so that's a decent size, but it's still enough to make me a little bit nervous. So he still wins the conflict, which still gives him the intrigue card, the Mentat, and the 2 Solari. So now that we've got all that figured out, Maker phase, the Great Flat gets bonus spice on it. Then we recall agents. So this turn, this coming round, Memnon will actually have 4 agent turns because he's got the Mentat this round. There's that one, and here. And somehow I'm still leading this game with 2 victory points. I will draw up my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we need to figure out 2 questions. A, what's the conflict for round 6? And B, can I go get my Swordmaster this round? Let's find out, shall we? First question is, what's the conflict about? So let's find out for round 6. This is still a stage 2 conflict, so starting with next round, the Automa players will be able to trade in spice for victory points. Speaking of spice, first place gets you an intrigue card and 3 spice. Second place gets you 2. Now let's look at my hand and see if I can go get my Swordmaster. I can go get my Swordmaster. And using my signet ring to do it might not be a terrible idea. So I think that... Let's see, that's going to be 8. I have 9 right now, so I'm going to have 1 left. But I think that's fine. So I'll use my signet ring, which will give me another water, to go get my Swordmaster. So I'll have to pay 8 Solari for that. 6, 7, 8. There we are. And that will get me my Swordmaster. So now I have 3. So now I have 3 agent turns, up to 3 agent turns as well if I want them. And odds are I will. So that moves to my discard pile. We have to shuffle the House Hagal deck before Memnon can start drawing from it. This is probably a conflict I'm going to want to try to get in on, mostly for the extra spice, but... And just to make matters worse, now the Automa will be triggering their... Now at least Memnon will be sending his Dreadnought into the conflict first. But I do need to keep an eye on that. Anyway, here's our card for Memnon, so he will draw. See, he still only has 1 influence with the Spacing Guild, so he'll send the Mentat, I guess, to Fold Space, going up with the Spacing Guild and going up to 2 victory points. Then the Beast will deploy to Tech Negotiation, so he'll leave a... Actually, Yep, there's a tech tile there that he can buy with a 1 spice discount, so he'll pay 1 spice. There's that going into the supply. And he'll get wind traps. So whenever he wins a conflict, he gets a water. And then he gets a water for acquiring it as well. And then the top of that stack, only this one. Holopro injectors for 3 spice. Exhaust this. So, wait a minute. Does that exhaust... And exhaust and discard a card from your hand to draw a card. And that's the same thing with the invasion ships as well. So that's on top of the stack. Let's see. Then my second turn will be... yeah, I think I want in on this conflict. So I'll use the Bene Gesserit Initiate to deploy to the Great Flat, spending my 2 water... So I'll be drawing 2 cards out of this because I'll be harvesting 3 spice, because remember, I harvest 1 less, and I draw a card for my special ability, but like I said, I'll be drawing 2 because of both the Bene Gesserit Initiate and because of the special ability. So from the Bene Gesserit Initiate, I draw a dagger, which is 1 sword, and then from the special ability for Ariana, I draw Diplomacy. This is actually very welcome right now. So I got my 3 spice there. I will deploy... like I said, I want in on this conflict. So he's at 0. I'm at 7. All right, and then Memnon's second agent turn is going to harvest spice. None of the spaces... Send an agent to the space with the most bonus spice or total if tied. If no spaces have bonus spice, reveal another card. So we kind of got away with 1 there, but let's see what happens here. They're going to Carthag, which gives the Beast a Solari, so he can deploy this troop and 2 more. So right now, Memnon and I are tied with strength, and I might have to bring more troop strength to bear on that. The Beast does get a Solari, though, because Memnon went to Carthage. And then the Beast will go to Fold Space, except he can't because that's blocked off, so we'll try again. Selective Breeding, he can go there. So we'll send an agent to Selective Breeding, going up with the Bene Gesserit, which will give him another victory point, coming up to 4. Let's see, my last agent turn probably needs to be trying to muscle in further on this conflict. So I will use... I'll actually use Diplomacy. I'll use Diplomacy. The only combat space I can go to right now is actually Still Suits, and that might still not be the worst place to go. Because like I said, I'm trying to get more spice here. So anyway, I'll go up with the Fremen there, get a water, and I can deploy up to two troops into the conflict, which I will do. So that'll bring me up to a troop strength of 11. And then, wait, what was... Okay, no, never mind. Alright, so Memnon is going to have 2 more agent turns coming out of this, so we could potentially have big problems. Going to get another Dreadnought and buy a Tactile if he can, except he can't, so... What did it? So they trashed. I think they trashed one of the tiles. If it can't afford to buy any tactiles, but does have a troop in its supply, it'll leave a troop behind as a negotiator. So he'll leave one behind. Actually, he'll get a second Dreadnought. Sorry, I'm trying to figure my way through this. He'll get a second Dreadnought. What am I doing? That goes there. And then he leaves a negotiator behind since he can't afford to buy any of the tiles. Then the Beast's last agent turn is Selective Breeding. So he can't go there because he's already got an agent there. So his next one is going to Harvest Spice. No bonus spice is in play. So he'll draw again. Going to Arrakis, which helps me. It gives him his signet ring. He gets a troop in his garrison, +1 for the ability on the card. So he'll get 2 troops into the conflict, going up to 4. But I also get a Solari, which is kind of helpful for me. So now we're all in on this conflict. And then for my reveal turn, I have 3 influence, a sword, and I get to advance my freighter. So another sword, I get to advance my freighter, and 3 influence, which I will use to buy guild bankers. Mostly for the deployment effects. So next, so we're placing it in the Imperium row. Will be Spice Hunter for 2, the Fremen card. You can use it to deploy to Fremen or triangle spaces. You have 1 influence. You get 1 influence and a sword on a reveal turn. In addition, if you have a Fremen bond, so if you have another card that has this card in play, or that has the Fremen keyword on it, you'll also get a spice. And then the Automa deck, the Automa will be busy this turn. So Memnon's got 2 more agent turns. They're going to get a Dreadnought, except they don't, because they A, already have an agent there, and B, already have 2. Interstellar Shipping, which they do have 2 influence with the Spacing Guild, so they do get to go up on 2. And when the way the Automa does that is when they move on the shipping track, they advance until they reach the 2nd space and then recall. So they always choose Dividend as its reward. And then the Beast will go to Conspire, which will give him 2 more troops in his garrison. And up with the Emperor. So he'll get another victory point, tying me with 5. We'll put the agent there. And then I'm out because I revealed already. So Memnon's last agent turn is Highliner. Oh, this is bad. So he gets 3 troops. So he goes to Highliner, which brings him up with the Spacing Guild. 3 troops and his other Dreadnought. So he's just 6, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's at 16 strength, so he's definitely passed over me. That was unfortunate. Anyway, each of them will reveal a card for swords. So Memnon will reveal none. And the Beast, I don't think he can pass me here. Will reveal 2 more. So Memnon wins the conflict, which means he gets the Intrigue card and 3 spice. Intrigue and 3 spice. I will get 2, and then the Beast will actually get completely shut out. So there's the 3. I put the 2 on my board already. There's 3 for Memnon. Those move over to the hand. I should have actually had 1 more sword, so I would have been at 13 strength, because I do have the artillery, but that doesn't really matter here. So Maker Phase, the Haga and Imperial Basins both get bonus spice. If I can harvest spice and then get to Highliner this turn, that would be great. So anyway, I'll pull my agents back. So the Beast and I are still tied with 5 victory points. And now we're going to be at a point where, that goes back there, we are at a point now where the AI players will be trading in spice for victory points, so I do need to keep an eye on that. Anyway, finish getting those back. Those go back to the garrison. Garrison, supply, 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 agents. So now we'll move into round, what is this? Round 1, 2, 3, 4. Round 7. And Memnon will be our first player. Need to shuffle up my hand. So in an ideal world, I think my turn here goes harvest spice, go to Highliner, probably get my second Dreadnought. The only problem with that theory, actually, what order would I need to do that in? Probably would be Dreadnought. Probably need to be Dreadnought. I'll have to have a think about that. I definitely need my Dreadnought this turn, though. Definitely need my second Dreadnought this turn. The Beast doesn't have any, and Memnon is way behind in terms of victory points. So I'm not too worried about. The only thing I'm worried about with Memnon is he has both of his Dreadnoughts. I think I can make this work. Like I said, no, I can't, because my 1 card there is giving me both. Ugh, that's bad. Well, maybe not, actually. Maybe if I use that first. But anyway, let's see what the conflict is about this round. The conflict. Battle for Imperial Basin. So 2 victory points and control of Imperial Basin for first place. Second gets 5 spice. So let's lead off with Memnon, who's our first player. He will start the round by going to Still Suits. So he'll go up with the Fremen, which will give him another victory point, bringing him up to 3. And then he can deploy into the conflict, so he'll deploy his Dreadnoughts in right away. He's at a strength of 6. The Beast is up next, and he will be going to Fold Space, going up with the Spacing Guild. I need to have an eye on that alliance. Let's see, for my turn, well, I think I do need to start off with the Guild Administrator going to harvest spice. So I'll get 2 spice there. And I have to hope that this draw is something that sends me to Highliner, because this is a great conflict to be in on. So there's the 2 spice. And then I draw a card from that, so I will draw. Diplomacy. Perfect. So as long as I don't get... I just saw the Highliner space, though, so I might be able to get away with it there. But anyway, I do need to pay my water to go to Haga Basin. Oop. Water in the water container, Phoenix Knight, not in the spice container. Anyway, so basically I need to duck Highliner for 2 cards here. So Memnon is going to Arrakis, which actually helps me out, aside from giving him another troop in the conflict. So he's up to 10 strength already. Oh, I forgot to deploy. So I get to deploy my Dreadnought and my troop, so I'll go up to 5 strength. I just deployed for Memnon. He gets a spice as well from his Signet Ring ability. And then the Beast will go to Conspire. So that'll give him that'll send him up with the Emperor and 2 more troops in his garrison. I'm actually 1 Solari short from being able to get my Dreadnought from being able to get my second Dreadnought this turn. The question is, what do I do with that? I do have enough spice that I just saw Highliner, which kind of gave me a lot of problems, and I think there's only 1 card of that in the deck. So the question here is... Actually, you know what? I can work with this. So what I'm going to do here... if I do that, though... If I spend the 2 spice there, then I won't have enough to get to go to Highliner this turn like I probably need to. I might be fine, though. So I'll actually use Reconnaissance to go to Arrakis, which will give me a troop, and I'll deploy 2 into the conflict, which will bring me up to a strength of 9, and draw a card. So here I will draw a Convincing Argument, which I'll be using for Solari for influence on my reveal turn. Anyway, Memnon is up next, and he will be going to Secrets, which puts him up with the Bene Gesserit. Yep, Secrets. So that'll give him another victory point, bringing him up to 4. Then the Beast will be out of agents. Oh, he was first player. Right. I forgot to pass the first player token over. Going to harvest spice, so he'll go to Imperial Basin to get, that'll be 2 spice effectively, which he'll trade his 7 in for another victory point, going up to 6, and he'll put 2 troops into the conflict. Let's see, and then for my turn, do I use my diplomacy to muscle in on this conflict? I think I do, actually. So I'll use diplomacy. I'll use diplomacy to go up to Highliner, which will let me go up further with the Spacing Guild, protecting that faction alliance. I'll pay my 6 spice. There we are. To get 2 water and 5 troops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which I'll deploy into the... Actually, I will deploy... I'm gonna look at the discard pile for a second. There's a... Okay, the 6 is gone, so... Well, actually, I don't know if there's a second 6 in the House of Gaul deck. There might be. So the question is, how many do I deploy? Right now, I'm down 1. Do I deploy 4? I think I just deploy 4 here to gain 8 strength and go up 7. That way, if there's another 6, I don't get blindsided by that. All right, and then for Memnon, he actually is at 3 influence with the Spacing Guild, so he'll go to Interstellar Shipping, which means he'll recall, so he'll gain 2 more troops and go up with the faction. Where's he lowest right now? He's lowest with the Fremen and the Bene Gesserit, so he'll go up with the Fremen. And then he chooses Dividend, so he'll get 5, and each of us will get, and the Beast and I will both get 1. He's going to trade 7 in to get a victory point, tying with me at 5. Okay, so that's interstellar shipping. That's his third agent. So the Beast is out. I'm revealing. So actually, I kind of overkilled it a little bit, but... So I do have 2 swords, plus 2 because of the artillery, so I'm actually at 4, which means this is the first time we get to see the 21 sword marker, the 20 sword marker, so I'm actually at 21 strength right now. And I have 5 influence to buy with. I'm going to buy the carry-all, even though I don't think I'm going to be shuffling my deck again this game, but we'll find out about that soon enough. And then replacing that, gene manipulation for 3. I can use that to deploy to green or blue spaces, trash a card, and if I have another Bene Gesserit card in play, I get 2 spice, 2 influence on a reveal turn. Alright, so all that stuff is discarded. Then everybody's going to reveal cards. I'm at 21 strength right now, so don't be alarmed here. Memnon's up first. I don't think there's any way either one of them can win the conflict. Okay, there was a 5 sword, so I maybe overkilled it a little bit, but Memnon's at 15. Then the Beast gets another 1. So the Beast goes up to 5. I win the conflict with a strength of 21, so that gives me 2 victory points and control of Imperial Basin. So that hopefully will help give me extra bonus spice. Memnon came in second, so he gets 5 spice, which will trade 7 in for another victory point. So there's the 2. I didn't bother, like I said, I didn't bother giving him the 5 spice because I was trading 7 in for a victory point. Yep, this is stage 3. And then the Beast gets Bubkiss out of the conflict. So bonus spice will get added to the Great Flat. We'll recall everything. Okay. Where did my third agent deploy to? Oh, Haga Basin, right. Okay, then we have those coming off. Okay, that goes back to the garrison. Those go back to the garrison. Supply. 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 All right. Then I'll bring that back in. And round 8 will see me as the first player, so let's see what our conflict is about this round. Alright, so looking at my hand, this is probably a great turn to go get some more Solari and my second Dreadnought. The question is, what order do I want to do all of that in? Anyway, let's see what the conflict is about this round. So the conflict this round, Battle for Carthag, 2 victory points and control of Carthag. Second place gets you an intrigue card and 3 spice. Third place gets you 3 spice. So this is probably a conflict I want to try to get in on. The only question is, how do I want to do this? So, if I set myself up right, I'm probably going to be able to muscle in on this conflict. So, do I start with... how do I start with this? I would need more spice if I want to go up to Conspire, which is also a tempting idea. But question is, can I set myself up to just win the game here? That might be hard to do because I am first player. So I think what I'll do here... No, actually I think I can work with this. So I'll actually use my Signet Ring to go up to Interstellar Shipping. So I'll advance up 1, and then I'm going to recall. So I'm going to gain 2 troops in my garrison, And I'll go up with the Emperor, which will actually give me the Alliance token. So there's the Alliance token, which will give me another victory point, bringing me up to 8. I'll go grab my water for my signet ring. Alright. And then I recall, and then here's a decision. Do I want the spice or do I want dividends? Dividends gives the beast another victory point, but I'm going to try to close I think I'm going to try to close the game out this round. That might be a bit of a stretch, but we can probably work with it. Yeah. I think we can take dividends here. So 1, I get 5, and then the beast is trading in his 7 for a victory point, which will bring him up to 7. I'll go get my 5. Alright, so that's all done. First card up for Memnon is Tech Negotiation, which I don't mind that too much. So we can buy Tech Negotiation. He can't buy any of those. So I think I'm just looking here. If at any time there are no face-up tech tiles, trash the tech tile from the... Okay, so we trash from the largest stack and reveal a new one. So I think we trash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll trash the one from the 3 disposal, and we'll reveal this tech tile. Mimic film for 2. On the reveal turn, you gain 1 spice, but there's still nothing there, so we'll trash that one. And then we'll reveal Chalmurky for 4 spice. When you acquire it, you gain 2 intrigue cards, and endgame you win tiebreakers. We might want to try to get that, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. So Memnon with a 1 spice, with a 2 spice discount, actually can buy the... Actually, that's the one he can buy. So yeah, he gets 2 intrigue cards, which will effectively be another victory point for him. So we'll actually just get one of those, and then trade the 3 intrigue cards in. So I need to win the game outright is kind of what I'm getting out of that. Then for the beast, I'm hoping for no whammy here. Harvest spice. Oh, that's bad. That was actually part of my plan this turn. So he'll get 4 spice. He'll get to deploy into the conflict, which is not... It's not entirely catastrophic, but... Question is, in my hand, do I have other ways to get into the conflict? I think so. But the first thing... Oh, we need to reveal this new tile. So, new tile here is troop transports for 2. Whenever you recruit troops from the shipping track, you recruit an additional troop. You may deploy any number of them into the conflict. Let's see. So can I get my Dreadnought and get in on this conflict? I think so. So I'll use the Bene Gesserit Initiate to deploy. I'll draw a card. That's not... Well, I can probably still work with it. That was... By the way, the draw there was the Guild Ambassador to deploy to Triangle. I either gain an influence with the Spacing Guild or 2 spice. If I have an alliance on a reveal turn, I can spend 3 spice to get a victory point. Right, so I decided I was going to Dreadnought. I'll spend my 3 Solari to get my second Dreadnought. And I can buy a tech tile, but I'll leave a negotiator behind because I don't have the tech tile to do that with, or I don't have the spice to do that with. So Memnon will go to Carthage, which will give him another troop in the conflict, which will deploy... So this and up to 2 more. This is bad. So That brings him up to a strength. So the beast is at 4, Memnon's at 7, and I need to muscle in on this conflict PDQ. And yeah, I think I've got, like I said, I think I've got ways I can get in on this. So anyway, the beast's second agent turn is going up to wealth. So he does advance to tie me on the reputation. Is that only for the first player who gets up there, or does every player up there get it? I think every player who gets up there gets it. I know I only get the... You're in the bonus shown on that space of the... So whenever you move up there. Okay, so the beast does get 2 more troops in his garrison. Which is potentially a problem because he's still got 1 more card coming where he can get in on the conflict. What do I want to do, though? I think I'll use my Dune the Desert Planet with a triangle to deploy to... Let's go to Haga Basin. I'll pay the water. I'll only get 1 spice, but I'll get to draw a card from that. So I will get to draw. Oh, I'm an idiot. I could have gotten more spice than that, but anyway, I will draw a dagger with a sword on it, which is what I need right now. Alright, then Memnon has got 1 card left. He will draw Still Suits, which is another combat space, because of course it is. So Still Suits, which sends him up with the Fremen. I think my plan to close this game might have blown up in my face. So he goes up to 8 victory points. Oh, I get to deploy into the conflict as well. So 2 troops, which will bring me up to 6. Alright, so we got a water for that, and he deployed 2 more troops. Oh, he deployed the 2 dreadnoughts. Oh, he just goes up with the Still Suits. Never mind. Oh, he does get the water for the Alliance. Duh. Alright, then the beast has to just shuffle the deck. Okay, so we'll draw that up. And then the beast has 1 last agent turn, so he will find... Going to Carthage, except he can't because there's an agent there already. So he'll find... Harvesting Spice, except he can't because there's no bonus spice out. And... He goes to Still Suits, except he can't. We're getting some swords out of the deck, which is great right now. Carthage, which there's still somebody there. Harvest Spice, which there's still no bonus spice available. Interstellar Shipping, which I have blocked off. That's another 3 swords, though. That's helpful to see. Selective Breeding he can go to. Alright, so he goes to Selective Breeding, which advances him on the Bene Gesserit faction. And then everybody's out, so I get my reveal turn. I get to advance on the shipping track. I get 2 swords because I have the artillery, which brings me ahead of Memnon by 1. The Spice Must Flow costs me 3 influence less to acquire. Well, that's kind of annoying. My battery died in the middle of my reveal turn. So... Alright, so as I was saying, I think that was advancing because of... I think that is where it advanced to. So anyway, as I was saying, Guild Bankers, the Spice Must Flow cost 3 less to acquire. And Guild Ambassadors, I'm 1 spice short of being able to spend the 3 to get the victory point, and I'm not doing anything with 1 sword, or with 1 influence. So now we have the moment of truth. If Memnon reveals anything more than one sword, then my plan to close the game out here blew up in my face. I'd almost rather the beast is the one who reveals the 6 swords, because at least then we'll still have one more turn. So let's find out what we've got here. Memnon reveals 3 swords, of course. So that brings him up to 10. Now I need to see the beast reveal the 6. So of course he reveals the 0. Because of course he does. So Memnon goes up to 10 victory points, gains control of Carthag away from the beast. And I would get 3 spice. Now I get the spice. And an intrigue card. Let's see if it would give me any help on endgame, but I doubt it. I draw. Diversion. When I deploy 4 more units to the conflict in a single turn, advance on the shipping track. Nope, that didn't do anything for me. So, with that, before we jump, I think that's before we jump into the maker phase, right? No, we do the maker phase, so the Imperial Basin would get bonus spice, but now we're in the recall phase. So if any player is at 10 or more victory points, Memnon is. So we are at an endgame. So, the endgame is triggered, which means Memnon has won with 10 victory points. That was a close one. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this video up. So that will do it for this playthrough of Dune Imperium. It's going to be a busy week on the channel. Well, not just on the channel. Tuesday night, there's a day you guys don't hear very often on the channel. Tuesday night, I'm actually going to be live with ID Jester on his channel, where we're going to chat about board games, war games. Should be a good time. So come on over, give him a look, maybe show me a little bit of support. I'll put a link to his channel in the description down below, along with the other links. Wednesday we'll be playing through the Starfinder Beginner Solo box, as I decide about, okay, do I want to jump into my budding group for Starfinder? And then Sunday, the war games are going to be taking center stage once again, as we play Field Commander Rommel off my TAC Up Wargaming list. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.